it's not exactly a world that I want to live in.
No, but you're interested in it. Maybe it scares you, as you said.
It scares me, and we scare them. Not anymore. When Polyester was made a long time ago, I'm saying when we made those movies, we scared them. I know when we made that, Polyester was the only time where the neighbors hated us and called the police and everything. The neighbors were friendly. When we made Serial Mom, in Serial Mom's house, one of the couple died, and he still let us film there when they were planning the funeral.
Now, what does that say about American culture?
It means that they were lovely people to rent from.
But it also says something about I mean, you talk about the death of irony, but the pervasiveness of irony, or the fact that...
This wasn't irony. This was, people had never seen a movie being made. They saw how hard people work, how, you know, they're 20-hour days of, not just movie stars, of crew, lugging all that stuff. So they saw it. They knew to stop it would have been a nightmare for us. What would we have done? So I think they liked being part of it, seeing how a movie's made. One thing I know, it's the worst thing ever if someone makes a movie in your house. It'll be ruined. They blow the fuses, no matter what, and they'll fix it. But it is not, people are horrified if they say, oh yeah, you can shoot in my house. And then when the trucks pull up with all the equipment.
They still like it. They like
some do, some panic.
But I'm talking about the subject matter.
The subject matter.
Yeah, I think that it just does, as you said, it doesn't shock in the same way that it did. In fact, people find it's fun.
You used the word shock. I never tried to just do that. Maybe the ending of Pink Flamingos, which was a joke on that year Deep Throat become legal, pornography become, what's left? Something that isn't illegal yet. I never tried to shock. That's easy.
Well,
now people try too hard to shock.
You try to
I try to surprise you with some wit.
Okay.
With some wit. It's easy to shock.
Surprise is better.
Surprise with wit.
With wit.
Hopefully, if I'm successful, and I'm not saying I always am.
But was it always wit? Was it also that you wanted to get some sort of kind of visceral reaction from the audience? I mean, you, for example, in, now I'm going blank,
I can tell you which scene.
No, the odorama is...
Polyester.
Polyester, yeah. Right. The idea of smelling, and, you know, you in the book you talk about, or perhaps it's not in the book, you talk about the tingler.
Yeah, that's another book I wrote.
The idea of having sensations when you watch film, it's sort of, it seems to me you're approaching something like performance art with your films.
Well, I do a one-man show called This Filthy World that is me, that is performance art, basically. Right. I mean, it's a spoken word act. I'm trying, the odorama thing was just another joke. It was something that you could take home. People sell programs. I'm still signing odorama cards. 20-some years later, you can still see them on eBay.
Oh, I'm sure they sell for quite a bit.
But they still smell. They still work too. Mine are in my garage. I have to keep them outside because they stink. They still stink after 30 years almost. So,
but you were onto something there.
It was a joke. It was a joke.
It was a joke, but sometimes your jokes seem to have great
foresight. That one worked.
But
the best
what about the 3D stuff now?
Yeah.
Don't you think that in some sense
I'm already over it.
You're over it.
What I want to do is invest in what's the 3D movie that won the Oscar?
Avatar.
Which I liked. Avatar quality 3D for home porn. That will make someone very, very rich. And that's the things I want to invest in. That, gay divorce, and tattoo removal. 3 growth industries.
Tattoo removal, gay divorce, and
Avatar porn for home. I like porn. I thought Avatar was great. But now it seems like overkill, especially the movies that weren't even filmed in 3D, they're adding it. The one I want to see is Johnny Knoxville's The New Jackass is in 3D. Okay. And he said, we're going up Steve-O's butt. He actually said that, which is hilarious. It's like Cinerama.
And you've used Johnny Knoxville.
I have.
Yeah. Let's talk about your fascination for the Manson family. I know you've been asked this.
Well, let's stop there. I'm going to be serious when we talk about this. My fascination by, well, I guess that's my, I argue very seriously in the book. The only chapter that I don't think has any humor in it really is that Leslie Van Houten, one of the so-called Manson girls who met Charlie Manson when she was 17 and did participate in the LaBianca murders, has served 40 years and I believe is the poster girl for rehabilitation of the California prison system. She looks back on it with absolute horror, regret, but she has been told that if you participate in a system, in the prison system, that there is possible parole for somebody who's done every possible thing. And she now is the woman she would have been if she had never met Charlie Manson. She has apologized as much as she owns that. You know, she doesn't even say it was drugs, it was Manson. She said, it's my fault, I took the drugs. It's my fault that I made him a leader. You can't be a leader without followers. So I do believe in rehabilitation. If you don't, I can understand saying that she should never get out.
Yeah.
But I do believe in it. I think this is a special case. Your own kid could have met Charlie Manson and ended up like Leslie did.
Well, you make a point in your book that had these girls been in your films,
well,
they could have been in your films, and then they would have had, that would have been.
Well, I'm saying
so
it was a
much.
safer way to rebel, because when we
to channel the rebelliousness. Yes.
And when we were making Multiple Maniacs, we were making a movie in the hippie years that glorified violence for comedy. However, they were doing it in realism and being so on LSD and being so controlled by someone's mind. The best one ever, actually, I mean, the most notorious madman of certainly my lifetime will ever be is Charles Manson. He's become a Halloween costume.
Yeah.
And the boogeyman, you know. So I do believe, and I also in this chapter bring up all the most devastating, strongest arguments the victim's relatives have said against her release, which I think I most certainly do have to do. And I would never criticize what they say, ever, ever. It's a terrible thing that happened. There is no fair answer to this question.
Well, actually, it's a very eloquent chapter about her, and I think, people will be moved. Whether they're convinced or not is another story.
Yeah,
but
it's a tough case. Yeah. It is a really tough case.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you explain to a parole board that you thought you were an elf? They actually did. That might sound funny, but I mean, they were really pretty far gone.
Yeah.
And what a terrible thing when you're 17. A lot can happen when you're 17. Tracy Lord said to me once when she got out of porn and everything, she said, they say 18's legal. That's not old enough. You're not mature to make the decision whether you should be making these movies when you're 18. It should be 21.
Right.
And I understand in a way what she's saying.
I don't know about 21 either.
Well, yeah, I
have a
think
21-year-old.
I think it should be 41. I'm still just debating whether I should be in porn. No, I'm just kidding. I'm 64. Gerontophilia, a movie coming towards you. An ugly word for a lovely thought. It's a sexual attraction to old people.
Okay.
Well, maybe
Why
all
not?
the viewers are not familiar with this particular, we call them wrinkle queens.
Wrinkle queen.
Queens.
Yes.
Yeah, and I had a friend that is one, and I said, why? He said, because I'll always be younger, won't I? I thought, well, that explains it. Power.
Vanity.
Yeah, power.
Hairspray. We have to touch all the bases here.
Okay.
Hairspray.
That was a good idea. A fat girl fighting for integration. Little did I know that for 30 years it would go on.
What did you think about this extraordinary effect that this movie has had, the musical and then the remake?
Right.
And I mean, really, that truly elevated you to superstar status.
And bought me an apartment in San Francisco. It was, people don't get even one of them in life. It happened 3 times. I remember standing on that stage when we won the Tony. I remember, I love the movie. It was the only movie I ever made where my parents could actually say, I love it without lying.
Were you surprised
it went well.
that it...
Yes, of course you're surprised. But I always think they're all going to do well. To me, Hairspray and Cecil B. DeMented aren't that different. All my movies are about people that are outside the norm, that take what society uses against them, turn it into a style, and win. And this one just seemed to click on. I was shocked when it got a PG rating. I thought I'll never work again. I thought it was the end of my career.
Yeah.
But you never know what's going to happen with the movie. And they all have lives of their own. They still are all in print and box sets and everything. Now they're on television. Pink Flamingos is shown uncut on the Sundance Channel.
You
How
never
could that
would
be?
have believed
No,
that.
that is more shocking than Hairspray being a hit.
Well, what did you think about John Travolta in The Divine
I
role?
thought he was fine. I
Yeah.
thought he reinvented it. I think Harvey Fierstein played it different than Divine played it on Broadway. And John Travolta did a radical thinking of it, that Edna, when she was young, was a Playboy bunny type. And when she got older, got heavy. That certainly happens.
Yeah, I liked him. I know
Yeah.
the reviews, he was the one that was a little bit
Well, he was the
sidelined.
film,
Yeah.
without him, the film would have never been made. He got the film financed because of him. And the exit polls, the audience picked him as their favorite character. So
I also wonder if you feel that you have been an influence on, say, David Lynch.
Well, no, David Lynch, I adore David Lynch, and we're friends. And the only influence I could have been is right when Female Trouble came out, Eraserhead came out, and I was doing a press tour, so I mentioned what a great movie it was, and everybody, you know, so I think it helped it a little be discovered at the time. But I love David. You know, he's certainly a great.
So
great
he
filmmaker.
wouldn't say that you were an influence
No,
on
I don't
him?
think. I don't think anybody has to be an influence. I think certainly David had such a singular vision of David Lynch. Nobody could copy David Lynch. I think David Lynch has been an influence on more people than I have. I think that I have affected taste, and I think I've been able to make that it's okay to use almost anything for humor, but I think just the big budget gross out comedies aren't me. I wish I grossed that much.
Yeah.
I mean, not gross the way you're talking. I'm talking about at the box office. They made them wide, mass appeal movies. And my movies still do the best, oddly, in the richest, most educated neighborhoods, and the worst in the audience, in the neighborhoods where exploitation films did well, which were poor and uneducated.
Well, because
there's
your
irony.
I was just going to say.
And a real exploitation movie, they didn't think they were funny. They thought they were sexy or scary. They didn't think Ilsa the She-Wolf of the SS was funny. And I
Do you ever wish that you could do a non-ironic film?
I have. Oh, non-ironic. No, films. I've written a non-ironic book.
That is true.
I think irony, I don't know. In Pecker, I saluted the end of irony, so maybe that's still about irony.
Yes,
yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
Anyway, we're out of time. We will be coming back to do a second part to talk more about the book. I want to thank you so much. Yes, the sequel. John Waters, the sequel. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks for joining us today at the Drexel interview.